everyone, I'm your astrologer, Brittany of Ethereal Astrology with horoscopes inspired by the moon. Let me be your guide. Today, you're watching your astrology horoscope for the new moon in Aries, which occurs on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 at 1:22 p.m. Eastern Time or 10:22 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this new moon in Aries is that we are now feeling more able to pursue new, different, and better things in life that are more authentic to us, that we have been working towards for quite some time, which is giving us a lot of inspiration and excitement about our next steps. However, we're a little bit naive. We're a little bit naive here about this new experience of life and what it's going to look like and what it's going to require from us, and where our internal healing and how much and how far our internal healing and growth really is. That I think is just causing us to not see some things clearly. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please do stay tuned because I'm going to hop into it right now. In order to get started talking about this new moon, what I like to do first is just place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to here so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that here. I've adjusted this chart for the time of the new moon. I know that because I've got the sun and the moon here at the same degree in the same sign here, which is Aries. And of course, you can always check the date here up at the top of the chart. Okay, when you get the sun and the moon here at the same exact degree and the same exact sign as you see it here, that is a new moon. Okay, what are new moons all about? Well, new moons are about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts, since they are the very beginning of a new lunar month and of a new lunar cycle. Okay, what are we getting a new beginning, new energy, or a fresh start in? Well, this new moon is in the sign of Aries here. Aries is a lot about our identity, who we are. Also being a Mars ruled sign, it's about our actions and behaviors and how that is. In addition to that, Aries is also a fire sign here, about passion for life in a lot of ways, and two can be associated with courage and strength. Not only that, but Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? Making this the astrological new year here, which also has to do with doing things differently as well, or very differently than we have before. That is happening here. So what that means to me is that what's going on at this new moon in Aries is that we're getting a new beginning, new energy, fresh starts here to kind of reinvent ourselves and who we are, and to be a different person and to do things in a different way, and to get more kind of passion and courage and excitement here about life and about this different experience that we're moving into. I also want to note here that it is at the very beginning degrees of Aries as well, which can also make this very significant, a very significant new moon and a very significant new beginning, right? Because the first degree of the first sign is also about like fresh life, sprouting, things like that. So this can make this new beginning feel extra potent, I suppose, in some kind of a way here that's going on. Okay, so that's what I think is happening here. Now, before I move forward in time to explain more specifically here what's going on at this new moon and how I think it's going to play out, what I like to do first is go backwards in time for a minute before moving forwards. And I like to go backwards in time here to give you more of the context of how we got here and of why that theme I just described is now coming up to be felt, lived through, and experienced. And to go back in time, I'm going to go way back to things a few years ago and kind of catch us up. If you don't want to hear this portion of the video, if you already heard it plenty of times, you can of course skip it. I'll put the timestamps down below in the description box, but for now, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start here with an alignment that occurred somewhere in between January to April of 2020, which was when Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all came conjunct here around the middle 2 end degrees of the sign of Capricorn. Okay, that was a very significant and rare alignment here because it takes Saturn and Pluto about 35 years to come conjunct with one another here, and Jupiter is not always involved in that alignment. Okay, so that's why we go back to that one. Not only was at a very rare and significant alignment, but I also need to note as well that that was a very challenging alignment because it involved Saturn and Pluto, which are hard, and Jupiter didn't really help that much. What was the significant challenge that came up January to April of 2020? Well, I think the challenge that came up is that we realized that something was wrong. Something was wrong with our lives. They were too hard, too cold, not a true expression of who we are, and that we needed to make big Jupiter change Pluto in the structure of our lives, Saturn and Capricorn, in order to overcome that here and move into different and better things after this point. Okay, that's what we realized then. And I believe that it actually took us about 2 years to finally realize that and start to make the changes to let go of this old stuff. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention, which was a new moon solar eclipse in Taurus last year, I believe also somewhere around April of 2022. Hey, what was that about? Well, new moons are about new beginnings. Solar eclipses superpower that. And Taurus is a lot about our tangible reality, being an earth sign here, and also about fertility and abundance and better things coming together that might have a chance to grow after this point. So in April of 2022, we finally started to feel like some of our hard work since 2020 to release and change and get rid of all of this old stuff was paying off. Now, to get us in a different experience of life with a more fertile foundation to move forward, creating different and better things. And that then leads me to the next alignment that I want to mention, which happened about 2 weeks after that. I believe it was also somewhere in April of 2022, and that was a full moon, a lunar eclipse on the South Node in Scorpio. Okay, and that was a bit of a challenging one here, and that was a bit of a challenging one because this eclipse was on the South Node, which is hard because the South Node is a point of release or endings or things that aren't working that can make us feel a bit stuck. So this was us 2 weeks later after we were feeling more abundant and in a different place of life, all of a sudden feeling stuck and held back and unable to move forward. Okay, why were we feeling stuck and unable to move forward? Well, Scorpio, which is what the full moon lunar eclipse in, is a lot about change, making changes here in our approach and in how we go about things, especially now that our experience was significantly different than what it was before. So the reason why we were feeling stuck and held back is because our approach to life needed to change, right? For our different experience, needed to adapt to it and had not fully changed. What needed to change in our perspective that wasn't where it needed to be? Well, with the South Node in Scorpio, and the South Node is about things we needed to get away from. We needed to get away from some of the Scorpio tendencies, intense, uncomfortable emotions from the past here, and being too intertwined with relationships here, and spending a lot of money here that's going on. We needed to get rid of those habits and cultivate more of the North Node habits, which is in Taurus, which is about calmer emotions and being more independent and self-reliant and saving money and going slower and focusing a little bit more on our stability here at this time. Okay, so that's why we were stuck and going slow, and that's what we started to realize at April of 2022. I'm in a new and better experience of life, but now I'm stuck and can't move it forward because I have the wrong perspective on it. That maybe worked to end old stuff, but isn't working to build stuff. And that's that I'm too intertwined with other people, spending too much money here in too intensely and emotional and unhelpful way that's preventing me from moving forward, that I need to change to be self-reliant, thrifty, more stable here that's going on. And that realization, I think, actually took us almost all of last year to really learn and to really get through our head. I don't think that it was until December of last year, 2022, when Mercury went retrograde here in Capricorn at the same degree that Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter came conjunct in 2020, that we really started to realize we needed to get this new perspective here, Mercury mindset, this new perspective and this new mindset through our heads here in order for us to more fully move our lives forward in a different way. And because roughly around December of last year into January of this year, we finally started to fix our mindset to be more slow, stable, secure, self-reliant, thrifty, and etc. We then, when Saturn moved into Pisces, I believe this past few weeks, March of 2022, finally started to feel like we could more fully release the old life here that was no longer working for us here and step into something much different with very different behaviors. Okay, which now leads me to this new moon in Aries, of which this video is for, is propelling us more completely now into a new and different experience of life that we've been trying to get to since 2020, that now we have the more correct mindset and approach here in order to build in a different way as we move forward, that we're feeling more excited and more optimistic about. Okay, and that's it. Because that's all I'm going to say now in terms of the context of this new moon. I'm now just going to repeat all of that very quickly here before I move forward to make sure we've got it. So let me do that. What is the larger context or the bigger picture here of this new moon in Aries is that we're finally now feeling more able to move forward on a new, different, and better chapter of life that we've been trying to get to since 2020 here, with more excitement and with more passion now that we have the correct perspective on how to build it, which is one that is slow, stable, secure, thrifty, self-reliant here, and all of that. Okay, which is very good, right? Very good, very exciting, very significant here as we move forward, right? Especially with this new moon occurring on the equinox. Okay. That now that I've talked about that and given you the big picture, now what I want to do next is to go more into detail about that new moon and about that theme I just described and how it's going to play out here at this time. And to do that, I'm going to take a closer look now at the specific aspects that the new moon is making and some of the other aspects, especially the significant ones. I'm not going to mention all of them that are happening around it. So let me do that. And I think the first aspect that I want to mention is going to be that the fact that this new moon is in a close proximity, a conjunction here to Mercury, also in the sign of Aries. Let's talk about that. What is that? This to me is a very good thing. This is a very good thing here because the moon, the sun, and Mercury are all benefic planets. They all bring good things. And the sun, I need to note, is an exaltation in Aries where it really likes to be. So I want to say that this is a positive thing here, and a conjunction can be fine. What is the positive thing? Well, Mercury has a lot to do with thinking and talking here about what's going on, maybe even considering ideas and options. It also, too, has to do with clarity, especially when positively aspected, which is what it is here. What are we thinking and talking about and getting clarity on? Well, it's connecting with the sun and the moon. The sun has to do with our identity. The moon has to do with our emotions, and it's in Aries, which has to do with the new chapter in life here and what that is and what we can do and who we're becoming and what that might be like after this point here. So what that means to me now, to continue to bring this alignment together, is that what's happening at this new moon in Aries is that we are stepping into more completely a new, different, and better chapter of life that we've been trying to get to since 2020, now with the correct approach. And because we're stepping into this new, different, and better chapter of life with the correct approach and feeling more excited about it, we're having a lot of thoughts and conversations here about this new experience and what we could be and who we can do and what it can look like and how it can work, and we're getting a lot of ideas and insights and clarity, I think, on all of that, which again is very good and very exciting. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, not related to the new moon, but happening around it. And that's going to be Venus here making a conjunction with the North Node here in Taurus. Okay, that to me is a positive alignment here as well. All the things I mentioned so far, I think have been positive. Okay, this is a positive alignment here because Venus is in Taurus, its home sign where it loves to be and therefore functions very, very well. And also too, because I tend to like the North Node as being about our purpose, our destiny, and what we're meant to achieve or accomplish more of at this time. So I do like it. What is the good thing here? Well, Venus and Taurus, which are correlated, are a lot about ease, rest, comfort in some sort of way here, remaining more calm here, more stable, more secure, being more confident as well, especially in ourselves and our own abilities here that's going on, but could also extend to relationships and money here too, that the North Node can be bringing us towards, maybe bring an unexpected feeling of, sometimes the North Node can bring this unexpected feeling, positive feeling of here at this time. So what this is meaning to me, right, to continue with that, is that what is going on at this new moon in Aries is we're feeling ready now to finally step into a new, different, and better chapter of life that we've been trying to get to since 2020 now with a proper perspective, which is very exciting and making us do a lot of thinking and talking here about this new experience and how cool it is and what we could do and how we could behave differently and what it could be like, and giving us a lot of clarity on that, which is wonderful. Maybe giving us a surprising sense of peace and calm here about our situation and confidence about what we're doing and about how things might play out. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, which is going to be where Mars is. Okay, because Mars is now out of post-retrograde shadow, where it's been for a while. It messed up in this retrograde mess in Gemini for an unusually long time, which is very good. Not only is it now out of post-retrograde shadow and moving up to its more normal speed here, but it's also moving away from an uncomfortable square to Neptune, which it's been doing for the past, few months. That's been hard as well. So I want to talk about this, which I think is a very positive thing. What is the good thing here about this? Well, when a planet is out of post-retrograde shadow and going up to its more natural speed, it functions more easily and much better, right? In some kind of way here that's going on. And Mars is in Gemini here, and Gemini, I should say Mars is about action, and Gemini is a lot about our mindset, our thought processes here, and ideas. And it's also too about settling into things to make them a little bit more familiar here that's going on. And with it leaving this horrible square, challenging square to Neptune, it's about us clearing up a lot of confusion from the past few months about our lives here and overcoming that so that we can get more ideas and more clarity and feel better and lighter. To me, Gemini is kind of playful, being symbolized by twins, feel playful and lighter. So what that means to me, right, to continue bringing it together here, all these have been good things, is that what's going on at this new moon in Aries is that we're finally feeling like we're in a new, different, and better experience of life that we've been working towards since 2020, with more ability now to move it forward since we've got the right perspective, which is very good and exciting, giving us a lot of thoughts and ideas about what we could do and how we could do it that we're talking about and getting clarity on, which is wonderful here, bringing, I think, a surprising sense of peace and ease and calm about our situation and what's going on, and making us feel more playful, more lighthearted, and to release any confusion of the past few years and leave that behind so that we can move forward in a much better way. Okay, that then leads me now to the next and the last alignment that I plan on mentioning here in this video, and that is going to be Pluto, because Pluto is at the last degrees of Capricorn here at the exact time of this new moon, which is what this chart is for. However, I believe 2 days after this, March 23rd, it's going to leave the sign of Capricorn here and enter the sign of Aquarius. So I do want to talk about that, especially because it will be there for quite some time and is a very significant alignment. I do want to mention that since I know that a lot of you all will be curious about it. Okay, what do I want to say here? I'm going to say quite a few things about this. I think the first thing that I want to say here is that in some ways I do see this as positive. I do see this as a positive thing because what it means is that we're nearing the completion of some old things in some old sign, right? And whatever Pluto was bringing there, and moving on into a very different experience than which we had before here, which is good. It's good to complete old issues and move on. I think making us feel somewhat celebratory, right? Celebratory, I finished this thing, I'm moving forward. Not only do I like it because of that here, but I also like it Two, because Pluto's at the very beginning degrees, right? It's about to be at the very beginning degree of a sign here. And when a planet, right, Pluto's no exception, is at the very beginning degree of a sign, it tends to not show its full colors yet, because the beginning degree of a sign is still a little early and still a little unformed. So it tends not to show its true colors yet, especially not the negative ones here, and be a little bit more of either a positive or just a neutral thing here that might be happening. And with Pluto in Aquarius, right? Aquarius, when say positive or neutral, has a lot to do with us feeling more free, right? Feeling more free to be our authentic self here and put our lives in whatever place, whatever goal, whatever dream we want to pursue here after this point, and can also bring a level of excitement, right? If we want to consider Aquarius being about electricity, and it can bring a lot of excitement here about our lives, and this feeling like we kind of have like a blank slate to create whatever we want here after this point. So I think that this alignment is also bringing to now and in the next few days some weird sort of excitement about what we've done, and a feeling of celebration and completion of something important in our lives, and like we're now more free to do what we want to do after this point that's authentic to us. Okay. And I think that's more of what's top of mind. But even though that is, I think, what is going on here, that is, I think, a valid interpretation, and the way we're experiencing this alignment, I do need to note that there is something concerning about this alignment here that's going on. And what's concerning here about this alignment is that Pluto, even though it is about to enter Aquarius, is going to retrograde out of it at some point this year and go back into Capricorn before coming into Aquarius again. So that's a challenge, because what that means to me is that even though we are feeling as though we've completed a lot of old issues at this time, we really haven't fully completed them. We really haven't fully completed a lot of the old issues, because if we did, Pluto wouldn't need to go back into Capricorn. It would be done and it would be moving on. Okay, we really haven't completed in the 29th degree where it's going to retrograde back to. We really haven't mastered the old lessons from the past that we've needed to master. And what have been the old lessons from the past? Well, Pluto in Capricorn can make us Pluto takes things to an unhealthy and balanced degree. And it could have made us too Capricorn, too cold, too unfeeling, too focused on career and success and status, and ignoring of our emotions. So even though we're feeling very excited at this new moon, which I think I've interpreted very positively, what we're not seeing something, and we're not seeing that we haven't fully mastered these old lessons, which has been a lesson of ignoring the emotions. We're still ignoring the emotions and being too hard and cold, and we're not where we need to be, and we haven't fully processed that yet. Okay. Because now it's an emotional issue. Last year it was a mental issue. Now it's an emotional issue. Okay. More completely. Not only are we not seeing that, but another thought that I want to offer you as well is that Pluto, at the very beginning degree of a sign, where it's about to be, the very beginning degree of a sign is a degree that's naive. It's a degree that's naive, and it's a degree that's immature. Here, where Pluto's going to be, and where the new moon is at 0 degrees Aries. It's a bit naive and it's a bit immature. Why? Because a planet at the very beginning degrees of a sign has not been in that sign for a very long time, and therefore has no clue what to expect and how to handle it and what it's going to be like that's going on, and maybe has the wrong ideas, or just doesn't know what idea to have here about how things are going to happen too as they play out. And with it being an Aquarius, Aquarius is a lot about freedom to now pursue whatever we want to pursue in our lives. So we're not seeing here, and we're a little naive about what the challenges are going to be with that. What the challenges are going to be when now the world is our oyster, and now where we can do anything that we want to be doing. We think that's great. We think I've got so much freedom. I can do whatever I want to do. It's going to be a walk in the park. Well, in theory it is, but once you actually start to have so much freedom, it then gets hard. It gets hard to say, choose what you want to pursue. When you can do anything, it gets hard to choose one thing when you can do anything that's going on, and then to put that thing into action when you might be so distracted by all of this other stuff. So even though this is bringing even more of an excitement of completing an old lesson, moving on, more free to do whatever I want, it's deceiving here. And we're a bit naive because we're not realizing that we still have not fully mastered a lot of the old lessons from the past few years, which got us into the mess that we needed to change to begin with, which is that we were really ignoring our emotions and being a little too cold, hard, stiff, and focused on status. And it's not only deceiving because of that, but it's also deceiving too because we're not aware of what the new challenges are going to be, and are maybe glossing over those, or glossing over what the challenges are going to be now that we have so much freedom in our lives here. Maybe we think there are not going to be any challenges here when there are, because having so much freedom can bring a whole bunch of other issues here about our situation that's going on. So what that means to me now, to back up here, to bring the interpretation together, is that what is going on here at this new moon in Aries is that we are finally feeling more able to move forward into a new, different, and better chapter of life that we have been working towards for quite some time, really since 2020, now that we have the more correct perspective here, which is wonderful, making us feel very excited and giving us a lot of good thoughts and conversations and ideas and clarity about who we're becoming and what we can do next and how we can do it, and bringing a surprising sense of calm, I think peace and ease and more lightheartedness here, now that we're leaving a lot of old confusion and issues behind here, and making us feel like we can now be free to put our lives in any direction that we so choose. But even though there's a lot of beautiful things going on at this new moon, excitement, good ideas, celebration, lightheartedness, freedom, I think it's a little deceiving. And I think we're being a little naive here and have a little rose-colored glasses on about what is actually going on here and about where we actually are internally in our growth when it comes to this different experience. And I think that we're a little naive and overlooking and not seeing the fact that we really haven't mastered these old lessons that got us into the problem over the course of the past few years that we've been needing to overcome. And not only are we naive because I don't think we're not seeing that we haven't fully mastered the old lessons and are in danger of repeating those, but also too, because I don't think we're seeing just what challenges having freedom now to do your own thing can bring up and how that might play out later on. Okay. And because that's what's going on, I'm now going to give you some advice. I've been liking to do that here before we move onwards. And the advice that I want to give you here is to feel excited. It's good to feel excited about life. I don't think we've had enough good moments. I don't think we've had enough happiness, enough joy over the course of the past few years in our lives. So it's good to feel excited. It's good to be happy. It's good to have ideas. Be excited if you feel excited. Be happy if you feel happy. But don't fool yourself. But be aware. Be consciously aware here that there may be a lot of things you're not seeing yet about yourself and about your new experience that may be challenging, that may come up later. Okay, so I think that's the advice. Enjoy it, but be conscious that you're not seeing the whole thing here. And not only is that the advice, but maybe I should give you another piece of advice too, which is to go slow and take your time here as you move forward, especially with Mars about to enter Cancer, where it doesn't like to be, and the days after this new moon as well. Go slow and take your time here with this experience, because if you're rushing and moving too fast here, then you're not going to see these blind spots, especially with Saturn and Pisces. You're not going to see what you're not seeing, and you're going to overlook them and miss steps here, or just create more of an issue. So that's also part of the advice, is to slow down so that when these things come up, you're not so startled and it's not a huge mess, and you can deal with them here much better in the ways that it is that you need here as you move onwards. Okay. And I think that's it. I think that's all that I'm going to say here in terms of this new moon and the aspects at least. Because of that, I'm now just going to repeat all of those things one last time here without the astrological jargon, so you can get a little bit of a different and better idea of what I think is happening here. So let me do that now. What I think is going on at this new moon in Aries, is that we're finally feeling like we're in a new, different, and better chapter of life that we've been working towards for quite some time now, with more of the correct perspective to move it forward, and more passion and courage and strength in order to do so, which is great, giving us, I think, a lot of thoughts and conversations and ideas about this new experience and what it looks like and how we can move it forward and what we can do here, which is wonderful, bringing a lot of clarity and a surprising sense of calm and peace and confidence in our situation here, and even a sense of lighthearted and playfulness now that we're leaving these old struggles behind here, which is making us feel more liberated and free to create whatever vision of our future that's authentic to us that we want to create after this point, which is wonderful. Smiles all around. But even though that's wonderful, I think there's something about deeper going on here about this new experience and about what we've been through that we're not fully seeing, that we're a little naive about or have rose-colored glasses on, that has a big chance to come get us later on. And what we're not seeing, I think, is that we haven't fully mastered the lessons from the old chapter of life that we didn't like, that we've been trying to escape, which is that we've been ignoring our emotions here, and that we also are unfamiliar and don't know the new challenges that are going to come up in the new life and what that's going to be like now that we have so much freedom, which is going to be difficulty choosing what to do and when here. That is a bit hard. Okay. And because we're feeling so good, but we're a little naive or have rose-colored glasses on, or not seeing that there are some challenges that can happen here, I'm just going to give you some advice. And the advice for you is to be happy, right? If you feel good and feel excited about this different experience of life that you're in, feel good about it, but to not fool yourself and to know that there are some issues that are going to come up that you might not be aware of yet, and to go slow as you move forward into this different chapter of life, so that when the issues do come up, they're much easier for you to handle and don't make you feel as confused or frustrated or like you're being set back. Okay, that's going on there. Okay, so that's what I want to say. Okay, because that's all I'm going to say now about the aspects. What I like to do at this point in the video is usually describe a few other thoughts here that I think are important to the message and things like that. And I think what I want to spend the time on now here in this section is, what are we not seeing yet or not understanding fully? What is that exactly here? And how is that going to play out? Because these are eventually going to need to be dealt with, and they're eventually going to need to be dealt with over the course of the next 12 months. Okay, because this new moon is the beginning of the astrological new year, because it's 0 degrees Aries, which starts the zodiac here, which indicates that whatever is happening at this new moon has effects for the whole 12 months. For the whole 12 months here, it's what the whole year is about. Okay, so let's go into a little bit more detail. What is it that we're not seeing here that are going to be issues for the next 12 months, especially, that we're going to have to deal with? Well, I think that there's maybe two-ish issues here that are going on. Some of the issues we're not seeing are Pluto and Capricorn issues, because Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn for the majority of this year, and is actually in Capricorn at the time of the astrological new year and the new moon, which starts the whole thing. And I think some of the things we're not seeing are Pluto and Aquarius issues, okay, because that's eventually where Pluto is going to move into in the next day or so. Okay, so let's talk about those. Let's start with the Pluto Capricorn. What Pluto Capricorn stuff are we not seeing here? Well, Pluto is going to retrograde back to the last degree of Capricorn, 29 degrees. 29 is a degree of mastery, mastering things here. And Pluto can bring a lot of challenges. So there's something about mastering the challenges, especially of the past, that have not fully been done yet or completed yet in the way that we need, even though we have significantly started to learn the lessons and move on. What is the challenge of the past? Like, what was that problem? Because I don't know if I've explained that enough in a lot of my other videos. The challenge of the problem was Pluto, that we haven't learned fully yet, was Pluto in Capricorn. When Pluto enters a sign, it brings that sign to an unhealthy and imbalanced degree. And Capricorn, when taken to an unhealthy and imbalanced degree, not Capricorn regularly, Capricorn is fine regularly, but when Pluto is in that sign, it makes it unhealthy and unbalanced. And Capricorn, when it's unhealthy and imbalanced, is what? Too structured, too serious, too much about managing things, that it can be a little cold and hard and unforgiving and not honoring of the emotion. And it's also a sign that's very concerned with career and success and status and moving up the ladder here. Okay, we've been too much of that, and not honoring the emotion. So the lesson of Pluto in Capricorn has been to quit that. Quit valuing success and status over your own emotional well-being, over your own feelings, and stop sacrificing your emotions for career and for success. And to stop being so cold and serious and unforgiving, and to honor more of the sensitive, sentimental, vulnerable people and parts of life here as we move forward. And with Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn, we haven't fully mastered that lesson. There is still a part of us that is valuing career and success over our emotional well-being, and is being too hard and cold and not honoring our sensitive emotions or the vulnerable people and things within ourselves. We're coming out of it. We're coming out of it, but we still haven't fully done that yet in the way that it is that we really need to here. Hey, that's the problem. And when you don't do that, right? Well, why is that an issue? Well, when you don't honor your emotions and are so focused on success and status, you don't create situations that are in alignment with you and who you truly are. Because it's our emotions that create alignment. If we were just robots, okay, speaking of Pluto moving into Aquarius, if we were just robots, it wouldn't matter who we associated with, what job we did, how many hours a day we worked, because there's no feelings there. But we're not robots, we're humans, and we do have emotions. They matter. Okay? They matter in order to create situations that are in alignment. So that's one of the first things that's going to be an issue for the next 12 months that we're not seeing here, which is that we think we've mastered the old lessons, which is honoring more of our emotions and doing more of what's in our heart and the sensitive parts in ourselves. But really, we haven't, at least not fully. We haven't done it fully. Maybe we've done it 85%. 90%, but there's still another 10 to 15% that we're going to have to do. Pluto wants all of it. We're going to have to completely get to honoring our emotions, because if we don't completely do that, we're going to have the same issues for the next 20 years. And we're going to keep creating situations that we aren't truly in alignment with. That's going to trip us up. Okay, the next issue that's going on now is the Pluto and Aquarius issue, right? The second issue, because Pluto is about to enter Aquarius at the very beginning degrees of that. What is the issue there that we're not seeing? We're not seeing, right? The 0 degrees is young. It's a little immature. It's a little naive. What are we not seeing? Well, we're not seeing what the problem, especially because Pluto will bring problems. We're not seeing what the problems is of having so much freedom is to now do what we want to do and be our authentic selves. We're not seeing the problems. We think that everything's great. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. We've been trying to get here for so long. What could go wrong? What could go wrong, right? What could go wrong? We're now having this chance to do whatever we want to do, right? Like, we're not seeing that there are issues that will come up, because that's what Pluto does, and because that's life. I mean, that's life. There's always things that are going to come up that we're going to have to learn and grow through and things like that. That's hard. And what are we not seeing? Well, when Pluto enters a sign, it takes that sign to, again, a really healthy and unbalanced degree that's no longer useful. And when Aquarius goes to a really unhealthy and imbalanced degree that's no longer useful, it has so many ideas, revolutionary ideas about all this stuff everyone could do with it being an air sign, but little follow through to put it in action. All these crazy ideas, let someone else do it. Let someone else do it. Not only does it have all these crazy ideas, but it can also be crazy ideas. It can also be, there's something about it that's too opinionated, right? Like the fixed air, all these crazy ideas. So there can be this sense to have too many ideas and not enough follow through, and then to be very opinionated about the things that aren't happening that no one's following through on. This isn't right, and this is the way we need to fix it. And then I'm not going to follow through, but I'm going to complain about all this other stuff that isn't giving me freedom, that isn't right, that isn't where it needs to be. Not only that, but it can also lead to, the collective. Aquarius has a lot to do with friends and groups of people. So it can also lead us getting too strayed by them, by what our friends are doing, by what we heard on the news, by what this group is doing in this protest that's happening. And we can get too distracted by that and all of those things that we're kind of ignoring our heart and what's going on here. Okay, not only can it bring that, but Aquarius is also a sign that's cold and detached. So it can also bring more of a cold and harsh feeling of not honoring our emotions as well. And we're not seeing that. All we're seeing now is great future, new experiences, new life, all this freedom to be who we want. But we're not seeing that with all of this freedom comes challenges now of us choosing which thing to do and doing it and putting it into action instead of waiting for someone else to do it and criticizing them about what they are and are not doing right. And not only are we not seeing that it's going to require us to choose and act on things, which is hard to choose and act when you've got all these ideas, but that we're going to get very swayed by our friends and the internet and social media and what revolt and revolution and persons doing on the news, that we're not going to actually do things that are important to us in our heart. And we're going to continue to create cold and hard situations that are out of alignment with ourselves. Especially, that may go on there. We're not seeing that with now all of this freedom to be who we want to be and all these ideas to pursue, that there's their own set of problems. Which idea do I pursue? How do I not get distracted by other people that are telling me I should live my life this way instead of that way and follow my own heart and honor that, How do I do what I want to do when all my friends are telling me to be someone different? It's going to bring these issues that we're just not seeing here. And if you are seeing them and hear me talk about them, right? Because a lot of you are hearing me talk about them, then you don't realize how deep those ideas go. You don't realize how much to the bone, to the wound, those things can cause. Because some of you might now be hearing this and being like, okay, she's saying that there's an issue with too much freedom now, all these ideas, getting distracted by friends. Some people don't even realize those are the issues. And some of you are now realizing they're the issues and hearing me say them. And you're like, oh, that can't be so bad. Having all these ideas. No, it's so bad. Being distracted by friends, not so bad. Yeah, well, wait until Pluto conjuncts one of your Aquarius planets or opposes your Leo planets and squares your Scorpio and Taurus. Yeah, then you'll be realizing just how much to the bone this stuff is going to cut here. That's going to be very hard. So a lot of you aren't understanding that here and don't see it yet, that you're going to need to be aware of. Okay, that need to come up, that really are both going to work together, because once we start to honor our emotions, right? If we think about the Pluto and Capricorn issue, once we start to honor our emotions more, that then is going to make it easier for us to choose which idea to pursue here, and which groups of people and friends to listen to and whatnot. Because when you honor your emotions, right, and you start to master more of that lesson, then it gets easier for you to choose which idea to pursue. Because you can logically justify any idea. I can do this idea, I can do this idea, but the emotions want what they want. They feel what they feel, right? It's going to make it easier for you to choose these ideas. And not only is it going to get easier for you to choose these ideas, but it's going to get easier for you to follow your own heart and not get distracted by other people. So they're different ideas, but they're going to work together here as you move forward, that a lot of you just aren't seeing here, that you might need to be aware of. That's going to take us some time to get together. So I just wanted to note that. Okay, anything else? Sure. Another thought that I have now on a separate note before I look at your inside degree is that we are a bit naive, right? That's been a huge part of this interpretation. We're very excited about each other. Like, we're just naive about what it actually is and how it's actually going to play out and what's actually going on here. And we do need to open our eyes here to be aware. But even though that is going on, we are naive and we do need to open our eyes. There are certain values to naivete, if you will, to being naive here. And there is something good about that, which to me, in a lot of ways, correlates to the 0 degrees of signs, but also to Aries. Aries correlates a lot. Not only is the new moon at 0 degrees, but to me, Aries correlates a lot to 0 degrees as well, because it's the first sign of the zodiac here that's going on. It's the start of the whole thing, 0, right? The alpha and the omega here, that's going on. And so to me, Aries can have a little bit of a naivety to it, not only 0 degrees, which is factoring into a lot of aspects that are happening, but also the 0 degrees of it, the new moon's there. And so I think Aries can be a little naive, but in some ways, being naive so early on is good. In some ways, being naive so early on is good, because if we weren't naive, we may never get started. You know, if we waited for everything to be perfect, we may never get started. If we weren't naive and we had our eyes wide open and we realized that 5 years from now, Pluto's going to square one of our planets and we're going to lose a bunch of friends because, you know, we want to do something that's close to our heart and they don't like our idea and they think we should do something else, we may never get started. You know, we may never get on this new path. We may never do it because we want to avoid that. I don't want that to happen. I want to avoid it. I want to do everything to make it perfect, to plan around it so it doesn't occur. You know, so there is a benefit to being naive here, which is to get us to do stuff, to be in this new experience and to not back out too soon here, and to give us the courage in order to face it and in order to go for it here in some kind of way. So that's my last thought here to share with you. Yeah, there's some naivety. You're not seeing that a lot of issues are going to come up here now. And you might need to be aware of it, but that doesn't mean feel bad about yourself because you're naive. You know, there's a value to that. And that naivety is helping you move forward so that you don't back out too soon before you actually get into the thing, and so that you can move on into a different experience and grow, you know, and grow. We need to be able to move forward and to experience different things in order to grow here. And the 0 degrees in the Aries is going to get you to do it. It's going to conceal some things from you to get you out there, to get you try things, and to give you this pep in your step here so that you don't fall backwards in order to move forward. So keep that in mind here. That you need to be aware of some things, but the naivety is helping in some ways to get you going here and trying stuff so that you don't fall back. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at your inside degree here. The inside degrees were not written by me. They were written by someone else named Aries Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings from each of the degrees from spirit here. But I like to look at his work because I find it very useful and relevant. And what I'm going to look at here is going to be the degree of the new moon, which is what this video is for here in Aries, which is at 0 degrees Aries. Okay. Aries Lonsdale calculates the zodiac and the degrees of it a little bit differently than it is here. So I'm just going to start with reading 1 degree Aries. Maybe that's the only, well, yeah, I'm going to start by reading 1 degree Aries in order to give you more information about this new moon. So let's do that. 1 degree Aries. Objective Earth existence embraced with a fury, identifying yourself completely with physical capability, external results, and quantifiable criteria on all fronts. You willfully submerge yourself in the brute facts and the bare phenomena. There is virtue in this approach. You become ready and quite able to do what is asked or needed and to put nothing in the way of each next thing happening right on schedule. You actually become a hardy vessel for strong Earth usage. So what does this mean to me so far? What this means to me is that at this new moon in Aries, we are feeling ready, right? I mean, we are feeling ready to do new things and to put them into action, you know, in the physical world in order to create a new experience here that's going on. And we're feeling like a hardy vessel in order to do it. That's what that means to me. Okay. It is a form of penance or probation for past successes, now gravitating towards the straight and narrow and trying to get certain things straight for a brand new start. It is the initial phase, the radically new cycle taken up with a passion, with an omnivorous appetite for things to do, problems to solve, worlds to streamline, tremendous for activating will, intended for nothing else. So 1 degree Aries, we're near the new moon, to me, is that's what it's about. We're now feeling ready. Our will is being activated to move into a new and different experience of life and to do whatever it takes in the physical to manifest it in order to move forward. And we want to do it. We want to do it in order to get things right and do things in a different way here from what they've been used to. Okay, I think that is pretty in line with a lot of the interpretation that I've given you. Okay, the next degree that I'll look at is going to be 2 degrees Aries. Now, the new moon again is at 0 degrees Aries. 2 degrees is like a bit far, I suppose. Usually, I only look at in terms of the insides degree, the degree before, of, and after the thing I want to look at here. But I'm going to go to 2 degrees here because I think that this one is also an interesting degree to consider here, and because the planets are moving. I mean, the sun's going to be here you know, a day or so from now, and because it's not too far off, you know, and I think sometimes astrology is more of a spiritual, is more of an intuitive kind of language here that isn't always the most exacting. So we're going to look at this. I think this is an interesting thought. Okay. What does it say? Aries, 2 degrees, held back by barriers that are formidable, up against yourself hard. You are shadow boxing with personal propensities for becoming swept away by the lower self. You take a perverse thrill in adopting the stance that is rebellious, angry, and distinctive, which I think is totally a possibility with Pluto and Aquarius. Driven by impulse to consolate the archetype of the one in trouble, of the outlaw, of the dark stranger, in love with the idea of being self-consciously different and running wild with it, bursts and episodes. You get taken over and played through. This is adolescence in its most naked terms, but very hard to outgrow. The one who will not apologize, who does not change, convinced that being against is a strong position, a very easy character to project upon. Okay. So what this is saying to me here is that even though at this new moon in Aries, we are feeling new chapter in life, ready to move forward, gonna do what it takes in order to make this new chapter better than the last one and to manifest things in reality, we are in fact going to come up with against barriers as we move forward, yet again, that I think are a lot of because of our own internal emotional issues, here that we're not seeing here, which is really an emotional, right? Our emotions being out of sorts. We have to be different, bursts and episodes, and of us just not being aware of a lot of things that are happening. Okay, so you got to be aware of that. I should also note too that I think these issues, these barriers are going to come up very soon. I don't think it's going to take that much time in order for you to realize that you're not thinking right about this stuff. I think it's going to come up very soon. And I think as soon as the next few days, when Mars is going to move into Cancer, maybe even a week from now, maybe I'll get with that. I think these issues are going to come up as soon as a week from now, that you're going to start to realize, oh shit, I'm not where I need to be in this different experience. And you're going to start to get frustrated and confused. Okay. And so I don't think that these are that far off. They're very soon that they're going to start to hit you here. That's going on within the next week, and that's going to occur. And I don't know if a lot of you it's going to hit you all at once. I think it might be a little bit of a subtle thing until Mercury eventually goes retrograde. What is that, like a month or two away now, May or something. That's when you're going to have to, when all of this is going to dawn on you of oh wait, I'm not right. So that's my other thought here. You think you're right this new moon, but there's something really not right that you're not seeing that's actually going to start to creep up on you very soon. I think within the week, that something's not right here, even though it may not fully dawn on you until a month or two after this, that you really need to work through this stuff and you can't just ignore it and push it off to the side. So that's where I am on that. Okay. All right, I guess now I'm going to take a look at your card for this time period whenever I feel called to one. The Queen of Pentacles here reversed. And at the bottom of the deck, we've got the 8 of Pentacles upright. I think there's a lot of doing. I'm feeling with the 8 of Pentacles. I think there's a lot of doing going on, but not necessarily a doing of the best things that are going to work or going to pan out in the way that we think they're going to. Because I think there's still, with the Queen of Pentacles, or some kind of insecurity or some kind of unhelpful approach. So I'm getting the sense from these cards that not only maybe to carry it forward, the narrative, not only are we in a new experience of life and we're excited and we're thinking about all this stuff we can do, but we're a little naive about it, but that some of you, as a result of this excitement at this new moon, may actually start to do things with this new experience of life here and put a lot of stuff into action, but you need to be careful because some of the stuff that you do now may not be done with the right perspective, and you might have to redo a little bit later as you heal more and learn more and see more things come to light. And to go slow, to pace yourself here and to manage your expectations about that process. It doesn't mean not do things. It doesn't mean not do things, because some of the things you are going to do now are going to stick and are going to work. So it doesn't mean not do things. It just means be aware that some of the things you do may need to be refined later on. Especially too, because that's the nature of Aries. With Aries being the first sign of the zodiac and being ruled by Mars, it is a bit imperfect. It just kind of throws things at the wall. Isn't it? Who cares if it's not perfect? Move on and do this other thing, so there may be a tendency to do that, right? It's really not until the Virgo will refine it. Will refine the whatever Aries starts, so to be aware of that. Now that too also has its purpose, right? Sometimes you just need to do stuff in order to get yourself going, But to be aware that some of the stuff that you're doing now may not be the most helpful, or still may not be done in the best way, and to just be aware of that here and to take your time as you fully figure a lot of this stuff out here that's going on. What is it that's not right? Well, I do feel it's an emotional thing, with a lot of stuff going on in the astrology, but also with this being a queen and the queen being reversed here. And the queens to me are a little more emotional and about connections and stuff. So I think the reason why we may be doing a lot of stuff here, but not all of it, maybe some of it, but not all of it is really going to pan out, that we might just want to slow down just a tad about here, is because I think that we're still kind of neglecting the emotions and what's emotionally meaningful for us, and not honoring those as fully as we need to be. And that once we honor more of the emotions and get those right, it's going to help us be more effective at what we're doing as we move forward. So I think that's all I'm going to say here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that you all have a good new moon, and I'll talk to you on the next video.